Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. Tonight, find out about a project recruiting and training people with skills needed for civic leadership, and a radio talk show in the Valley calling itself the world's first ever Jewish Chicano radio show hopes to strengthen ties between the Mexican American and the Jewish community. All coming up next on Horizonte. Phoenix Talkback is being called the world's first ever Jewish Chicano radio show. The hour-long show airs on KFNX 1100 AM at 10 o'clock Sunday mornings and is also available on the internet. We will talk to the host of the show in a moment, but first let's listen to the first Phoenix Talkback show that aired in March of this year.
This is Phoenix Talkback, the world's first Jewish Chicano radio show. All right. Welcome to Phoenix Talkback. This is Phoenix Talkback, America's first Jewish Chicano radio show. We are independent liberals in Arizona with America's first Jewish Chicano radio show. Both Jews and Chicanos have numerous similarities, and there are many Jewish people in Mexico. Both groups stress the importance of family. Both groups possess a language unique to their culture, and both groups have a history of facing oppression and rising above it. And it is not unreasonable to view what is currently happening to Mexicans in the United States as similar to what has happened to the Jewish people throughout history.
We have seen exclusionary laws passed in this nation that have targeted Jews, Catholics, Irish, Chinese, and other minority groups. And we feel that the best medicine against discrimination, hatred, and indifference is sunlight and attention. And this is the goal of this radio show.
Joining me now to talk about Phoenix Talkback Radio is one of the co-hosts, Viva Samuel Ramirez, one of the co-hosts, and Lou Show, the founder of the program. So Lou, tell us how this came to be.
Well, it's an extension of a show I did on the internet called The Lou Show, and I was away from radio for a while, and I looked at politics and looked around, and it came to me that there is a need to show a matter of solidarity between all peoples here in Arizona, and I'm a Jewish person, and I thought it was important for everyone to know that, because it is a part of my being. And Arizona is composed mainly of Mexican Americans, or in other words, Chicanos. So this is the world's first Jewish Chicano radio show.
Now, did you have a sense, though, that there was a perception of a rift between the Jewish and Hispanic Chicano communities, or what were you trying to remedy a particular issue?
No, I don't see a rift. As a matter of fact, the whole purpose of formulating this show is as a matter of solidarity. Is that Jews are all over the world, and
as you pointed out, there are a lot of Jews in Mexico.
There's a lot of Jews in Mexico. There's lots of everybody in Mexico, and I think that it's important to highlight any kind of combination of solidarity that we can see. We see it in Mexico. We also see it here in America. And here's one example. By the mere fact that we are together, we're discussing the society, politics, and the culture. And here's one example. And this is the world's first combination of Jewish Chicano radio show.
Now, Viva, you weren't on the show originally. But you decided to become a pretty regular part of it, a regular co-host. What attracted you to it?
Well, when I was invited by one of the founders of the show, Dee Dee Blaze, told me about the show, and we happened to share an idea about
Dee Dee Blaze with Native American connections.
No, with she's the founders of the Tequila Party.
Oh yes, I remember.
Sure you remember. So, who has been a big supporter of Lou and the show, and she knows that where my stance is about being Chicano, and she was looking for a voice that might have contributed in exactly the way that Lou was saying. She invited me to come on, and it was a good experience, so we decided to do it again. And I found that I have something to say, and I really enjoy saying Chicano. I really enjoy introducing myself as a Chicano and representing that voice, at least for myself on the show.
And did you have a sense that you were fulfilling a need by providing that voice on this show?
I do. I do feel that there's a need because we're on the brink of what is not just a Hispanic or a Latino movement, but a Chicano movement. This is about the beginning of an independence in Chicano identity, resurgence of a Chicano idea. And by doing this, by being present casually among people who talk about politics, about people who are residents here, and my neighbor, as Lou is here in the state, and being proudly Chicano as I am, and understanding that everything I say comes from that angle, and it being okay, demonstrating that it's okay on the show, is where we do need to go. It's that step where people need to become familiar with Chicano, with what Chicanos have to say, and where they come from.
How much of your own contribution to the show is the result, or based on the fact that your father, Samuel Ramirez, was very active in the community?
Well, I'd say I'd have to attribute everything to him. You know, I wouldn't have any clue if it wasn't for him, and for the way that he subtly introduced these ideas to me, just by being himself, and by being by having this word in our household, by being everything that he was, which was okay to everybody else. He was an educator, he was a businessman, he worked for the state, and he never had to overtly be Chicano, but he was a resident here, and he cared about the community, and he never lost his identity in what it was. And so to me, that was what made it okay to be Chicano, and I want to share that with everybody else.
So Lou, how do you decide what topics you're going to address from one show to the next?
It all depends on the week's news. As the week progresses and events occur in the community, it builds up towards the end of the week. You'll notice a lot of news stories break on Friday, and I think that's because something controversial will break on a Friday to not give the opportunity for anyone to react to it. So in the 2 days between Friday and when the show airs on Sunday, that's when I'm most busiest. So we try to be
busy identifying the topic and lining up co-hosts.
A lot of different things, gathering materials, talking to a variety of people. Certainly I have a point of view on what I see, but I still need the perspective of other people. And I talk to a great variety. I talk with Viva and say, did you hear about this? What do you think of this? And so I'm sort of the conduit of all this information.
Some of the shows I've listened to, you've had more than one co-host, or at least there are other voices participating. How do you decide how many people you're going to have on and what they're going to talk about?
It all depends who's going to be on the show. There's a possibility I can have more than one co-host. And I start the show, and after I start the show and broach the topics and all the information, I'm very content to sit back and to see how the synergy of everyone getting together and lending their point of view on an event. I'm sort of like the ringmaster if it goes out of bounds, but I do want to try to redirect everyone towards on the actual event, whatever it is that we're talking about, depending upon the week. So yeah, you're asking how I determine the content for the show. Some things are pre-planned, maybe weeks or so in advance. But the fact is, it all depends on how things happen in the news.
And when you talk about things getting out of bounds, do you mean simply off topic or some inappropriate statements?
Nothing is there's no one who's been on the show has ever been inappropriate. Although I will say that one time that we talked about, I believe it was Jason Richwine's dissertation. You remember this guy from Harvard? He was hired by the Heritage Foundation, and it was discovered near the end of the week that his dissertation dissertation was based on the idea that, now dig this, Latinos are genetically inferior.
This is a report that came out a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
maybe a
So they're going to
couple
have
months ago.
lower IQs.
So we talked about this on the show, and who knows, someone from the Tea Party called up to basically...
So you take phone calls?
We do take phone calls, yes, and the show airs on KFNX, as you said, Sunday morning at 10 a.m., and we hope everybody tunes in. And you can also find us on Facebook if you look for Phoenix Talkback Radio Show.
Viva, anything that's come up on the shows that you participated in that made you feel uncomfortable in terms of what the other co-hosts or hosts said?
No, I can't say that's true. I'm there. I'm perfectly comfortable in my perspective. I will say I don't agree wholeheartedly with everything that everybody else says.
And is that expressed as between the people?
It's actually an atmosphere where we're encouraged to add in all of these different opinions. And the demonstration there is that this is sort of a sampling of what we want Arizona to be like. We accept that we have different opinions and things, and that we come from different places, and that we can actually have different identities, but in order to live here in peace, in order to have prosperity and the things we want for our state, that we have to be able to figure it out together. And the show is that discussion happening, and it could be an example for the way we want the community to behave out in the public.
Lou, we're almost out of time. The show you just did this last Sunday, I would venture to wage is perhaps one of your more controversial ones, because it focused on Randy Parras and questioning the monies he got in terms of the campaign, the recall campaign against Sheriff Arpaio, and pretty negative overall. Tell us about how you came to decide on that topic and what kind of reaction you've gotten so far.
Well, when the recall ended, we still had Sheriff Joe. So the name of that series is Where's My Recall?
So part of the concern was it had failed. The effort had failed.
The effort did fail, and
we've only got about 20 seconds left.
I understand that. All I'm saying is that no one is above accountability. No one is above transparency.
Have you gotten any negative feedback so far?
No, actually, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback because they had no idea that what we reported was in existence. America has, and every human being has sort of a hero worship kind of thing, and we cannot let this get in the way of our politics.
Well, it sounds like a very interesting show. And again, for our viewers, it's Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock.
Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock.
Very good. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
And that is our show for tonight. From all of us here at Horizonte, I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.